So, you want to know about Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope? Well, I got good news for you. I've played a bit of it, I've made it through the first world and done all the side missions that I can, so I'm here to tell you what's new, what's similar to the first games, and try and give you little tips of what I think might help your experience in the game, just to give you a little bit better of an idea of what you might want to do. If this is your first time experiencing Mario and Rabbids, let me give you a quick little rundown of what it is like. Mario and Rabbids is a kind of watered down version of XCOM. Now, if you're tired of XCOM giving you percentages of what you're going to hit, and it feels more like that's kind of the percentage of I'm going to be able to shoot in their general direction, not that's my percentage to hit, this is the game for you. This game is easier than XCOM itself, but do not take this lightly. This isn't just a kid's game. It has its own bit of difficulty to it as well. So don't come in here thinking, oh, I got this, I'm a gamer. There are going to be some challenges along the way that might end up frustrating you. So definitely take your time with it. Try and think your moves out. And just remember, you can always restart your missions. You're not stuck in it like XCOM, where if you fail, you're screwed. But Ubisoft said the same thing and said, yeah, well, I'm going to make my own XCOM with Mario and Rabbids. And that's what we have here, Mario and Rabbids. The first game was absolutely amazing, and the DLC was also wonderful. I highly recommend checking those out if you haven't yet. But if you want to start off here, it's definitely not a bad place to start off, for sure. Now, for some general similarities, you're gonna have your same set of Rabbids kind of being around, checking things out, doing some shenanigans, smacking each other, playing on top of things that they probably shouldn't be playing on, and just overall Rabbid tomfoolery and zaniness. Always keep an eye out for your chance to see Rabbids in action, because it's always a good time and it's always good for a laugh. They've taken the time to really put a lot out there, so be sure to look around and explore and see what you can find. And you can even find little things where you can get some extra dialogue and give you a little bit more look into the world itself. Now, for some similarities. One, you can still break cover by shooting it, taking it from full to half, as well as you still have your ability to dash. It has been updated ever so slightly, so keep an eye out, I'll explain more later. And just like in the first game, experience is party-wide, so everyone's leveling up at the same time, so you don't have to worry about flipping everybody in and out. Now, one thing you will notice is we got a POW block. Items are now in the game, and we'll talk more about that later. Here we have skill trees. Just like in the last one, we have skill trees, kind of the same general deal. As you level up, you get more skill points, and you can pick and choose where you want to put things into your different trees. Now, as you can see here, we have 4 different trees available to us and one that hasn't shown up yet. So make sure to take a look at each of the different skills that you can unlock and see what's going to work best for your play style. Each character is going to be different, and there's going to be certain things that you like about their kit more than other parts. I would highly recommend focusing on the things that you think you are going to use the most. Like with Luigi here, I personally think I'm going to use his steely stare the most, so this is probably what I'm going to focus on. Now, just like in the overworld of the other one, you can sprint around, have fun, and all that fun stuff. Now, one extra thing that they have added in here is, if you're not careful, you can bonk your head on the wall. Absolutely hilarious. Great little addition that they've added in. Just like in the first game, you can find red rings, which will activate a quick little red coin gathering challenge that's timed. And if you can gather all 8 in the amount of time, you get a reward. Sometimes it's an item, sometimes it's more coins, sometimes it can be star bits, but it's always worth doing. Just like in the first game, you have the ability to use Beepo to go around the map, check everything out, see where all the enemies are, and so you can create your battle plan before the fight even starts. So I highly recommend doing that. Now you can check to see their movement size, their attack range, as well as getting a description. Just like the big tiger rabbit over here, as you'll see, you can see all of their resistances, their health, get a nice description of what they can do or what they are going to do, and if they are dashable or not. Really great sets of detail, definitely very good to check out. Highly recommend, especially for some of the bigger fights that you are going to get into. Now, just like in the first game, we do have our different status abilities that we can put on to others. Just like in the first game, we do have the burn ability. Now, unfortunately, unlike the first game, I have yet to see anything about honey, ink, bounce, or push. As of right now, the only thing that is similar is the burn, and it works the same way. You catch one enemy on fire as they run around. If they hit other enemies, they catch all the other enemies on fire as well. Another similar thing is in the middle of matches, enemies will spawn in periodically, but in this case, they will come from dark mist portals, and you can destroy those portals before they can even spawn in more often than not. Just like in the first game, there are going to be little puzzles that you can do throughout the game. I will say some of the puzzles I've already run into are a little bit more complicated. They're not crazy to do, but it adds a nice little extra bit of challenge instead of just like, okay, I need to press this button, then that button, then this button. As you can see here, it's like we've been given a riddle and now we need to rotate statues in the right way so that it matches what the riddle is, and then boom, free item. Now the item we get here is a special item for leveling up our sparks, but that'll be more later. Other than that, just like in the first game, you have hilarious cutscenes with funny things going on throughout the time and more Rabbids zaniness. It's really great. Now, let's talk about some of the new things, like the new antagonist and their legion of loyal subjects that will be out there getting ready to hunt you down, known as the Spark Hunters. Not only that, we have new worlds. Not just areas in the Mushroom Kingdom, but full-on new worlds. This right here is the first world, a nice beach area that's been plagued by the dark mist and taking away its sunny, fun exterior and making it a gloom and doom place. A nice new thing that they've added in is actual dialogue for all the rabbit characters. Instead of them just kind of making funny noises, they actually have dialogue. It's really great. Now, not only that, but there's actually some voice acting in this. Little quips and things for all the little characters, like this.
I'm back. Hey, little fella. Bingo, bingo, bongo, baby. Oh, people, my man.
Healing vibes, literally. It's been real. #winning.
Not only that, but the writing is absolutely lovely. I can't recommend it enough. Not only do we have little quips, but Depot and a new character we'll be seeing, Janine, they have fully voice acted lines like these.
Consider it done, my beloved princess. We are happy to serve. Just beware that this dimension works quite differently than our own. You cannot move after you shoot.
Welcome, Mario and Rabbid Peach. It is fortunate that you are unharmed. Your safety is critical to our mission.
Forgive Jeannie here for her arrogance, everyone. As the ship's new artificial intelligence, she just became self-aware yesterday.
That thing is a dark mist tentacle. By eliminating it, not only can we reverse its ill effects on the weather, but we can purify its dark mist energy and use it to create a warp tunnel to our next destination. We must also eradicate any and all dark mist puddles. They won't yield purified dark mist energy, but they are still a threat.
One great thing that they've added into this, if you played the first one and you thought it was a little bit too easy or a little bit too hard, we now have difficulties. We got relaxed, average, and demanding. So the world is your oyster for how easy or hard you want it.
Of course, I reserve the right to change my mind at any point during our mission.
Which is a great addition. Now, starting off, you will be locked into only having 2 heroes. But later on, after we meet our mysterious new playable character, which we'll talk about later, we'll be able to go back to the classic 3. Just like in the other game, you'll be able to switch out your team on the fly, either before you get into battle or right before you start the battle itself. Now, I will say I've tried out all the characters so far, And honestly, I'm surprised I'm going to say this, all of them are viable. As you're building your team, make sure to keep an eye on your Rabid Lumas or Sparks. These will be a really great asset to you. Now make sure you're paying attention to what their abilities are and how well they'll balance out with each character's set of skills. One thing to keep in mind is you can also upgrade these using your star bits that you collect throughout your adventures. They eat 10 at a time and it usually goes up in hundreds for each level. Now, another thing that's different from the first game is the skins for the weapons don't actually change anything. In this game, skins are purely cosmetic. You don't get special abilities on your weapons because of a different skin. You don't get extra damage because of the skin. Each one is just purely cosmetic. So find one that you like and slap it on there. It's not going to make a difference. Now the nice thing is as you level up, the base amount of damage each character can do goes up. So you don't have to worry about finding and buying the right weapon to up your damage or your abilities. Now, one thing that is interesting is each individual weapon is different. Now, each of the characters has their own weapon with their own kind of special skills. Like we see here with Mario with his dual slingers, where you can either shoot twice on the same enemy or you can split them up into individual enemies if you want to try and take out more than one opponent. Now the nice thing about this is if you're behind full cover, which we'll see here soon, if you want, you can split your shots and Mario will roll the different corners of the full cover. So you can hit your shots without having to compromise your cover. I personally like to go with the 2 shots on the one enemy, but I could see it being useful if you have multiple low enemies. Now, with this triple roll for Rabbid Peach, it's really great, and it's one of the neat things that they have introduced is weapons that will go over partial cover. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't get that 50% chance to hit. It's a 100% chance to hit. Now, for switching out teams, one big thing that's a major change from the first game is you can actually swap out Mario, which was one of my big complaints from the first game. Mario's cool and all, but I wanted to be able to use more characters. Now with this, being able to switch out Mario, you have so many more options, and all the characters are very viable. Highly recommend checking out every single one that you can. Another neat thing that they've added into this is not only main quests, but side quests as well, and you can take a look at your map and see where you need to go, where there might be other quests you can go pick up. It's a very nice way to be able to look at everything and kind of plan out what you need to do next. One neat thing that they have added in is the shop, with sales bot 99 plus tax here, giving you as good of a deal as he can. Now, as you can see, some cost coins and some cost a special currency. I can't confirm it, but I have a sneaking suspicion that each world is going to have its own special currency, and that special currency is going to be tied to completing quests. So I highly recommend completing as many quests as you can. One nice thing is if you have items that you don't think you're going to use in battle, you can sell them for coins just in case you're a little bit low. And SalesBot 99 plus tax will have your skins as well. So if you're getting tired of a skin and you want a new one, hit up your SalesBot 99 plus tax. Another neat thing that they've added into the world overall is these beacon town flags, which are essentially your waypoints for fast travel. So as you unlock more, you'll be able to fast travel between everything. Now, I'm sure you all been waiting for this part. What's different about battles? Well, you can find enemies out in the world and you can dash them to initiate a battle, or you can find quest spots and start battles that way. Now, the first time you start a battle, you'll get this fun little cutscene here. Unfortunately, you don't get it every single time instead of a loading screen, but the loading screens aren't usually that long, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, one of the big changes is the movement. Instead of having a grid system showing you how far you can move on the grid, you get more of a radius and you have full control of where you can move your character. You can just run around, find the exact spot that you need. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you shoot, and I know Beepo said this earlier, it's like once you shoot, you're stuck. So make sure you're shooting last, because that will lock you into position. Now with sliding, you can now slide up through 3 enemies. Now, this doesn't have to be just these Goombas here, it can be any 3. Now, as you can see right here, once Rabbid Peach went into Mario's movement range, a yellow circle showed up to show exactly how far Mario can move, which is really useful for your team jumps, which have changed a little bit. Now, you use Beepo as a little drone to glide you over to where you need. Now, you can get upgrades to increase the timer of how far they can go, along with being able to slide through multiple enemies now. There's a new mechanic where you can slide and knock over certain enemies and then pick them up and throw them at other enemies, like the bob-bombs. You can either shoot them regularly and then they'll explode in an area, or you can slide tackle them, pick them up, and then toss them out of your way. Now, you don't just have to toss them out of your way, you can do crazy things like nice little chain reactions here. You can pick one up, toss them at other bob-bombs, and set them all off. Like I said earlier, you can get items from finishing battles or from SalesBot 99 plus tax. They take 1 action point to use, but they're worth it. One nice thing that they've added is when a character uses their technique, they've added in these nice cutscenes where they are preparing to use their technique. Each one has their own special little cutscene, and I highly recommend checking them all out. They've all been absolutely wonderful. Now, we've talked about all the similar things to the first game, all the new things in this game. Now, let's go over some tips that I feel like will help you out along the way, making things a little bit easier. Alright, one thing that I will definitely say is make sure you're shaking all of your bushes that you see and all of the trees that you see. You never know what you might get. You might get some coins, you might get some star bits, you might even get something that might help you unlock an area. Goombas always go first, so if you have an Overwatch character, hold off until they're off the field. They'll eat it up. That being said, don't sleep on Goombas. They are dangerous, and if they get up into groups like this, they can do a lot of damage. Keep an eye out for these little robots in the world. They will drop memories, which are little audio logs that Janine will read out to you to give you a little bit more background on the world around you. And finally, my biggest suggestion, don't be afraid to explore the world. You never know what you're gonna find, whether it's some hidden coins or some treasures in someone's grandpa's basement. It won't be a waste of time because you never know what you might find and how it might help you later down the line. Now, we've talked about a lot of things today, but here's my overall review of what I've played so far and how I think this game will compare to the first one. As of right now, as it stands, I really like this one. I think they've kept enough things similar that it still feels like the same game, but they've changed enough to keep it super fresh and exciting. I really enjoyed the first one and its DLC. It was 100% a gem that me and my wife randomly found. And like I said earlier, I highly recommend you check them out. But as it stands, from what I've played so far, I think this game right here is actually going to be better than the first. I think they've done everything well. I think they've improved on their overall system, and I think this is going to be a big win. If at any point in time you were on the fence about getting this game, I would say go ahead, get off of that fence and get this game. I highly recommend it. Don't worry about waiting for a sale or anything like that. Alright, if you've made it this far, first of all, thank you. Second, if you could drop a like and a subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Now, if you have any questions about the game, go ahead, drop them down in the comments, and I will get to you as soon as I can. Now, if you've already played a bit of this game like I have, and you want to let me know what your experience was, I would love to hear it. I want to know if I'm in the minority of thinking this game's going to be better than the first, or if I'm in the majority of everybody thinking that. Because that's what I've heard from most people so far, is that this game is going to be better than the first. I'm Lord Rosnell, and I hope to see you next time.